Hello, and welcome back to the Nats Talk podcast. I am your host, Kevin Nibley, and we are sponsored by Old DC Apparel. Head on over to shopoldDC.com for the latest and greatest in DC fan gear. They have a couple new baseball shirts up. Excited about the team being more competitive this year for sure. And the mayor, Miss Bowser herself, is wearing the hat out at public events. So that's pretty cool. ShopOldDC.com for the newest and coolest DC fan gear. And for the podcast, you can find us on YouTube at Nats Talk Podcast. That's also our handle on X. And if you search Nats Talk Podcast, the audio version is on every major podcast platform. And it is worth saying, we don't do this for a living here. I'm a television editor. I make films. I do things like that. I'm not a professional broadcaster. I'm a fan who does this for fun through the Nats Talk website. So if you are able to hit a like button, hit the subscribe button, give us some love, give us 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening to. If you're listening to the audio version, please do that. It helps us out, helps me out, finding time each week to do this show. So we really appreciate that. All right, so last week we were off. It was my wedding anniversary. Have to give a shout out to Mrs. Nibs for 4 years. So wanted to take her out on Thursday night instead of putting up a podcast. So thanks for waiting. And while we were away, the team continues to play well. They recovered from that awful loss to San Francisco with the blown 9-1 lead, won a couple series at home, took care of the Mariners and the Royals for the most part, 4-2 homestand. And they're looking like a wild card contender. It's crazy to say that coming out of spring training with the roster on paper. Honestly, I thought we were in for 60 to 65 win season, but things are changing. You have to like what you're seeing. Really, the only negative of late, Zach Littell, the last couple starts getting blown up. You have to wonder, is maybe Jake Irvin comes back, maybe DJ Hers, is Littell going to keep that spot in rotation moving forward for much longer? But other than that, really have to like the way the team is playing. They have a tough stretch coming up against Tampa and Philly, but man, that Philly series here next week, I'm going to be going to one of those games. That's a fight for a wild card, and for the 2026 Washington Nationals to be in an important series for wild card standings, you have to be happy with that, and hopefully they can give the fans something to cheer about. And speaking of cheering, the Tarps Off kids, they're there almost every night now. I heard some people start to complain about them, start to find them annoying. But, for me, from my perspective, you got the younger generation into baseball, right? Like years ago, that was the knock, right? The kids didn't like baseball. I'm not quite a boomer. I'm a little more on that border of Gen X and millennial. I would say to the boomers, though, let the kids be kids, man. Let's not complain about a bunch of young fans having the time of their lives in the cheap seats and getting the stadium going. I think we all should embrace Tarps Off. It's a way for the younger generation to really get into the game. With all that being said, this current version of the Nats is reminding me a little bit about 2011 or 2012. The era where the last competitive team began to form and you could see it take shape. That's kind of how it feels like now with this 26 group. And so it's perfect timing to get our guest in today, Ryan Matthews, a key member of the bullpen of those 2011, 2012, and 2013 teams. One of the better interviews we've had, really honest. We went on for quite a while, so I'm breaking it into 2 parts. Some really cool stories about the beginning of the glory days. So without any further ado, here is former Nats reliever Ryan Matthews. Right now, we are joined by former Nats reliever and a key member of that 2012 team that captured the entire city's heart. I'm talking about Ryan Matthews. Ryan, thanks so much for taking the time with us today.
I appreciate you guys having me, man. It's really cool to be on here. So thank you guys.
No, definitely. Now, this current version of the Nats, the 26 or 2026 team, is starting to catch some vibes like you guys were in 2011, 2012. Is someone who is there kind of for the turnaround? Was there a moment as a player when you realized, hey, like we're turning a corner here, we're starting to become a contender? And what was that process like for you?
Yeah, I think there was a moment when we all started to believe, hey, that we can win this thing. We can actually compete. We can chase down the Phillies. We can compete with the Braves. Um, I think that started to happen when we started to win, right? That's when we
Mhm.
actually knew.
Yep.
But I think we knew. I've heard this on numerous shows or whatnot. What do you want to call them? But once Jason Worth showed up,
Hmm.
we knew the culture had changed. We knew that we were heading in the direction of a winner. At least in my opinion, he came in, he set the tone, and I think right then we kind of felt the shift of culture early on. Obviously, I hadn't been in the big leagues before with a team without Jason Worth, so I didn't really know what to compare it to. But I think that the people that were there before, hey, these aren't the Nats of the old anymore.
Hmm.
These are the new face Nats. And I think these young kids right now, they're realizing that they can play with anybody, man. And it's fun to watch in DC right now.
Yeah, definitely. Do you remember your call up to the Nats in 2011? Who told you, and what was that day like for you?
I remember it all too well. It's actually a funny story. Randy Knorr was the one that made the phone call. He was our AAA manager at the time, and believe it or not, I missed the call. It's a funny story because we had a day game. We had one of those kids games in Syracuse where it's like 11 o'clock start time. I'd kind of thought that I wasn't going to be in the minor leagues for that long, so I was in Syracuse. I hadn't got an apartment. I'm renting a hotel room when we're at home, things like that, checking out when we go on the road. So I finally pulled the plug and I'm like, all right, I've been here for over a month. I'm going to get an apartment. So
Mhm.
I chose the move-in date after that 11 o'clock game. So what do? I get a 12 pack of Bud Light and I start unpacking all my stuff. And next thing you know, I fall asleep at 11 o'clock. Randy North tries to call me at midnight after the game ends in DC. And I wake up to 7, 8, 10 missed calls saying, you got to be at the airport at 11 o'clock. You're going to the big leagues. Um, so I actually woke up to the call and it just sent my whole world into a whirlwind, man. It was the best whirlwind that I had ever gotten thrown in. But I actually missed the first call. So I tell people that all the time. Like, I miss my call up. Luckily, they still let me come. They still let me show up. Yeah, I showed up to San Diego in about the third inning, and then there was a whole fiasco trying to get into the park. That's a whole nother story. So, yeah, it definitely sets your world upside down in the best way.
They wouldn't let you into the park?
Yeah, so it was late, right? And I mean, I'd never got tried to get into the back door of a big league ballpark before. So here I am in a taxi cab trying to tell this taxi driver, like, no, I play for the team. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay. Everything's barricaded, man. It's like the third inning, like the game is actually going on. So I finally like, man, this is getting nerve-wracking. I'm supposed to be in there in uniform. They knew I was showing up like, in the middle of the game,
Hmm.
but I can't get in. So I finally corner one of the police officers that is outside, and I'm like, "Hey, this might sound crazy, but I actually need to get in there. I play for the Nationals. I just got called up." And he's like, "Hey, man, whether I believe you or not, I'm going to try to help you." And he just kind of started getting on the radio like, hey, there's this cab coming through, there's this cab coming through. And he ended up, I get a police escort right to the visiting clubhouse door and put my uniform on and walk out and introduce myself to Jim Riggleman and then head to the bullpen that was across the field on the visitor side of the field, to believe it or not. So my first time on a major league field was walking across like in the middle of a game over to the visiting bullpen. Yeah, I felt totally out of place, even more so than probably should have. But yeah, it was really cool. It's a fun story.
No, that's amazing. Now, like most bullpen arms, you began as a starter and you had to transition. The Nats, I think, this current version have a few pitchers that might end up happening to with kind of all the guys they have between Rochester and the bigs. What was it like for you to go from a starter to a reliever? And was that transition harder mentally or physically?
Yeah, it was way harder mentally.
Mhm.
And I got over it pretty quick. I was I don't want to say a bad starter, but I wasn't a great starter in the minor leagues. I had I had my moments and I had my moments that were very bad. But that's what I wanted to do, man. I mean, I grew up idolizing starting pitchers. My career that I dreamed of in the big leagues was to be a starting pitcher. So when the Rockies told me, "Hey, you're going to the bullpen," it was a gut punch, man. It really, I wasn't happy about it. I thought I had failed. I thought it was my ticket to, getting released. And then my first outing in spring training as a reliever, I remember warming up just like mad that I had to sit around till the seventh or eighth inning to throw in this game. I'm used to, being ready in the first inning and starting and things like that. And I am just in the bullpen, just ripping it. I mean, I am letting this thing eat. And I come out of the game, and the kid that was doing the radar gun, he's like, "Hey, man, how hard do you throw?" And I'm like, last year I topped out at 95. Majority of my pitches were 92, 93 as a starter. He's like, "Well, you just hit 99 and you didn't throw a ball under 96." And I'm like,
Yeah.
that radar gun's broken. So the next day, or 2 days later, I'm backing up a game in a big league game, on the big league side. And I actually get in that game. And after I come out of the game, Chris Iannetta, who was our catcher at the time, asked me the same question. "Hey, Ryan, how hard do you throw?" And I'm like, same auto answer, like top out at 95, mostly 92, 93. He's like, "Well, that stadium gun just said 100. So if somebody asks, you now throw 100. And I'm like, "Oh man, maybe this is real." So my velo jumped, man. So
Yeah.
making the change physically was very easy. It was just like, and I later on learned that it fit my mentality. I mean, I'm the idiot that punched a locker and broke his hand. So I mean, my emotions always ran high. They always ran high on the field, and for right or wrong, that's just who I was. So it fit me more personality wise, or at least like the alter ego that I would get into when I was on the mound. It suited me way better as a reliever.
Oh. Talking about personalities, you were in that bullpen with guys like Storin and Clippard, Craig Stammen, Sean Burnett. What was that group like?
Man, I just wish that I could go back and just sit in the bullpen with these boys, because it was one of the coolest groups of guys that I've ever got to hang out with, and not only was it so cool that we're friends, you know what I mean? It was a close-knit group. It was really cool because we all knew our roles. You know what I mean? I mean,
Hmm.
Drew was the closer. Clip was the glue that held the bullpen together in that eighth inning. And then we had pieces like myself and Sean, right-handed setup man in the seventh, left-handed setup man in the seventh. We could literally look up at the video board at any time and in the fourth, fifth inning and kind of see how the game was going, see
Hmm.
what the lineup was coming up, and we know who was going to pitch. So I think having a group that knew their roles, accepted their roles, and then obviously were really good at their roles. It was just such a fun, cool group to be a part of, man. I think we were built to win. Baseball has other things. Baseball is a crazy game sometimes, but I think that bullpen was really built to go deep into the postseason. And those two dudes at the back end of that bullpen. I mean, I say this all the time. I go out on a limb and I call Tyler Clippard a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And that might be a crazy thing to say because he's a non-closing. Most of his career was non-closer. But find me another guy that held down the eighth inning better than him for a longer period of time. And it's hard pressed to do, And I've heard somebody say sometime like, "Hey, you want to be a Hall of Famer? You got to be a top 1, 2 to 3 in your position for 10 to 15 years." And Clip definitely did that. He was one of the best setup man for close to 10 years.
Yeah.
So it was a really good group that was held down by my hot take of a Hall of Famer and Tyler Clippard. So it was a really cool group to be a part of.
We had a Clip and Storin on earlier this year, and you kind of led into this question. They talked a lot about the importance of defined bullpen roles. Ironically, this 2026 Nats team is pretty fluid. The roles aren't all that defined. It kind of changes day to day. Would that have worked for you back in your playing days? I mean, do you feel like that could last a whole season? Are you like Clip and Storin where you really feel like these roles have to be defined for bullpen arms to have success?
I'm a big believer, and it's only weird if it doesn't work. So,
Yeah.
so if it works, it's not weird. But for our group and for me, I think that the defined roles were a big deal. I think it gave us the security of like, hey, we know when we're throwing. Even if I mean, I watched the podcast with Drew and Clip on there, and they tell the story about Davey Johnson come to get me in Colorado, and it was absolutely to a T exactly what he said. Like, hey, those two mother effers coming in behind you are way better than you. And it didn't matter that he said that to me because I knew the next night he was giving me the ball in the seventh inning if it was my situation, right? It
Yep.
was, hey, the situation's changed. Those bad MFers coming in after you got this on lockdown, and I gladly handed him the ball. And I knew my role was going to stay the same the next night. So it just kind of helped me at least be confident showing up to the ballpark every day that, Davey and McCaddy had the confidence in me to give me the ball, whether it didn't work out the night before. My role was my role. And if I could just go in and take care of my job, and it kind of gave me the routine base out of it was taken out of it. If it's like, hey, we're up by 7, I don't have to mentally plug in tonight. If it's
Hmm.
a up 3 or less, or down 3 or less, my mind better be in it. So I just think it helped us perform having those roles, man. It really did.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and it kind of leads into my next question, which was going to be like, are you when you mentioned it's the fourth inning and you're looking to score and you're seeing how it's going, do you start kind of mentally pitching before the phone even rings? I mean, is there like a process you go through in your head to kind of
Oh,
ramp up before the phone even rings?
oh yeah, every day. When the game was at least in what I call in my wheelhouse, if it was lining up like I was going to be in the game, the same thing happened every day at the same time. It
Hmm.
was, hey, I drink my sugar-free Red Bull in the fourth. I put a dip in the fifth.
Sure.
Kids, I'm not telling you this is how it should be. This is just what I did. I'd drink another Red Bull in the sixth. The phone would ring in the seventh, and I'd tell Jimmy Lett when the phone rang, I'm ready. You know what I mean? I didn't even throw a pitch. He
Hmm.
would be like, Matthews, let's go. I'd rip my jacket off and I'd tell him I'm ready. So, I mean, and he knew I was ready and I think all of us kind of had that, everybody's routine was different. But if you seen that your spot was coming up in the game, you were mentally locked in, you were physically prepared. And when the phone rang, you almost knew it was you.
Hmm.
There were a couple times, and I can't remember the exact game or the exact scenario, where the phone would ring and a guy would jump up taking his jacket off, like it's me or Burnett for the seventh, and they would say a different name, and we would almost like, whoa, what was that? You know what I mean? And like guys would have their jacket halfway off because they know that was their call.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, just that night it didn't work out. Or a guy would be 3 days in a row and they didn't want to. So, but whatever, it was like we really knew when we were going to pitch.
No, that's awesome. Did it matter to you coming in with inherited runners, or did you prefer a clean inning? Did that matter at all?
Man, I liked the shit. I really did. I felt like the dirtier the situation, the more I thrived, man.
Hmm.
I just, hey, give it all to me and let me go see if I can figure this out. Um, Obviously, a clean inning's nice. You got a little more wiggle room. You can walk a guy and the manager's not coming to get you, things like that.
Hmm.
But I loved picking my guys up, man. If I could strand runners, if it really got me fired up. I loved the momentum swing when you would strand runners. If it's a close game and there's guys out there and they're threatening to score and you shut that down, you could fist pump, you could run into the dugout and get the boys going. That was kind of what I loved, man. And I really, really, really loved that, showing the energy on the field. It was kind of what I lived for. So I loved being in the crowd. I really did. Throw me in the gnarliest situation.
Speaking of a gnarly situation like that, I wanted to talk about the 2012 NLDS. I believe it was game one. You came in with the bases loaded, nobody out, and you got out of the inning in two pitches. Was that the highlight of your major league career? And walk us through that whole situation.
Yeah, absolutely the highlight of my major league career, highlight of my baseball career. I mean, outside of maybe getting called up and getting to call my father and
Mm,
just, the work that we put in on the back end and just getting to have that conversation with him might be, a highlight that does top it. But getting into your first playoff game, one where, man, the atmosphere in the playoffs is just, I can't even explain it. Like, you wake up in the morning and you got butterflies in your stomach like it's 7-year-old opening day. You
mhm,
know what I mean? The playoffs are just different. So Stammen got in some trouble in the sixth. I didn't even really look into the situation. It was just like, I got to get going. I got to get going fast. When they were like, hey, one more hitter, and then you're in the game. I almost didn't even know it was bases loaded, no outs. I mean, I kind of checked the scoreboard as I'm coming through the gate and like, oh, this is gnarly. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah.
and then I get out there and I'm kind of, man, I'm just in this like la la land because I mean the pressure of the playoffs. It almost felt like my major league debut again. I'm just not really with it mentally. I'm just kind of going through the motions. Um, and then we had a little bit extra time after my warm up pitches because of a TV timeout. And I remember this vividly. The umpire telling me like, Matthews, you got a couple more seconds, man, for TV. And I've never done this in my major league career. I just took a moment where I kind of where my feet were. And I look up and there's 41,000 fans with white towels just waving this thing, ready for this thing to just blow wide open.
Mhm.
And I remember going, oh my God, this is freaking sick. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then when we get in the box and it's Yadier Molina and I see Alan Craig on deck, if I tell you I couldn't have teed up two dudes that I would rather face in my life, it was these two guys. And it's not a knock on who they were as players. It was just what I knew about Yadier Molina with runners on base. He is super aggressive. He's one of the best in his, over the course of his career, driving in runners with guys in scoring position. And I knew that he was going to swing at anything close.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I had faced him. I don't even know what year it was, but I had faced him and he swung at a ball that was up and in that if he didn't touch it, it was going to hit him in the
Mhm.
chest.
Mhm.
And he popped it up to the catcher. So that was replaying in my mind. And Alan, if you're listening to this, no knock on you, man. But if there was one guy that I felt like I had ownage on throughout my minor league career into the big leagues, it was Alan Craig.
Hmm.
And I don't even know
Interesting.
the numbers on it. I don't even know the numbers on it. He might have gotten me 5 out of 10 times, but I felt like in my mind, I owned that dude. So I see these two dudes on deck and I'm like, I got a chance. And sure enough, um, first guy grounds the ball to short. I'm almost like, Desi's throwing the ball home. And I'm like, what is he doing? Why are we not turning two? And we cut the run down, and I'm like, oh, that's exactly what he's doing. He knew what he was. They didn't score.
Mm.
And then I throw another pitch, and it's another ball that Craig swings at, and he taps it to third base. And Zim turns this double play, man. And I just absolutely lose my mind. I don't know if you've ever seen the video of it, but I let out the biggest fist pump I've ever seen. And the camera actually follows me into the dugout. And I just proceed to like crow hop high fives. And I remember taking out Steve McCaddy's hand, screaming the biggest LFG I could. And he just looked at me and laughed because I was going absolute ape shit. And next thing you know, the momentum switches and we take the lead the next inning. So it's, as you can tell, I can relive it to a T to this point, even to this day. It was really awesome, man. It's the highlight of my career. It was fun. I should tell Stammen forever that he owes me one, but I don't even think we've ever had a conversation about it. It was just really cool. Hey, you got out of it. We got the win. Let's go win again.
All right, I think that's our episode. Many thanks to Ryan. He was really honest, really some cool stories, really forthcoming. We'll be back with him next week, and he has some more pretty cool stories to tell us. And yeah, big weekend and week coming up for the Nats, the Rays, and the Phillies. That Phillies series is going to be lit. Real chance to kind of score a blow against a division and wild card rival. I did not think we would be in the wild card race, but here we are. Please support nats.talkdcsports.com and please support shopoldDC.com. They kind of keep the lights on here. And until next week, go Nats.